welcome back to Book Club. We're reading The Night I Met Father Christmas by Ben Miller. Chapter 26. Are you alright? I called out to Father Christmas. He'd broken off from the story and was sitting forward in silence, his right hand loose on the reins, his left hand pinching the bridge of his nose. For the last few minutes, he'd been flying over an enormous mangrove swamp at the western tip of Cuba. The air around us had gone from being very cold and dry to being very warm and moist. I'd heard somewhere that rapid changes in temperature could wreak havoc with your nasal membranes, and I wondered if you might be having a nosebleed. "Shall I put something cold down your back?" I shouted. "I'm fine," he said, with a slight wobble in his voice, and dabbed his eyes with a large white handkerchief. "It's just that this story isn't easy to tell." For a brief moment, I was confused. Why was he so upset? And then it dawned on me, and all became clear. It's you, isn't it? Torville is you. Father Christmas nodded. So that was your future, I asked. Super rich, but super lonely. I came so close, he said, to the most perfect misery. For a while, we rode in silence, with the wind whistling and the sleigh bells clanking. "What was in the photograph?" I asked. Father Christmas sighed and reached inside his jacket. "Here," he said, handing me a battered leather wallet. "Open it." I've mentioned that I'm good at remembering things, but a boy with the memory of a shellfish would never forget the things that were inside that wallet. They were so unexpected. To begin with, there was no money, just leaves. "What are those for?" I asked. "Do you mean what are they for?" replied the elf. "They're leaves. They're the things that keep trees alive." "Yes, but what are they doing in your wallet?" "So I don't lose them," came the reply. And that wasn't all. There was a laminated pilot's license issued by the North Pole Aviation Authority, embossed with his photo. A nice list, clearly written in curly handwriting, and a naughty list in capital letters, a faded map of the world, and an invitation to a brandy tasting from someone called Shivers Regal. Finally, tucked in a corner was a small square of shiny paper. Its worn-out folds revealed an ancient sepia photograph of an elf boy and an elf girl standing side by side next to a Christmas tree. The girl held a toy hedgehog, and I knew straight away that it must be Gerda. That meant the boy had to be Torville, or, as I now knew, Father Christmas. I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but I stayed silent, hoping Father Christmas would keep telling his story. "You'll remember," said Father Christmas after a long pause, "that I ran away from the orphanage and went travelling the world." "Because of Gerda," I said. "You were jealous that the butcher's wife adopted her and not you." "Yes," said Father Christmas. "But over the years, as I was travelling, I realised that it was wrong of me to try and make her choose between me and her new family. The thing about travelling, as you may one day discover, is that the first thing that you unpack is yourself." Father Christmas turned in his seat so that he could look me in the eye. After a few years of seeing the world, and I mean the entire world, my heart softened and I started to miss home. I knew that one day, when I had seen all that I needed to see, I would go back and ask Gerda to forgive me. So I decided to do something special for Gerda, to say sorry and remind her of the friends we had once been. Thinking of the rag toys that Miss Jury had made us, I began to collect the most incredible toys I could find, one for each Christmas we'd been apart. In Russia, I bought her the most beautiful set of Matryoshka dolls. "What are they?" I asked. "Oh, they're beautiful," said Father Christmas. "Some people call them Russian nesting dolls. They're brightly painted wooden dolls, and every time you pull one apart, you find a small one inside, right down to the tiniest doll you could ever imagine." "Oh, my sisters would like those," I said. "Interesting," said Father Christmas, and winked. Then, in Hungary, I bought her a Rubik's Cube, Oh, I love Rubik's Cubes, I said. Duly noted, said Father Christmas. In Togo, I found an awali set. Do you know what that is? No, but it sounds fantastic, I said. You love it, said Father Christmas. It's a counting game. In Kenya, a wire car, you have to see one to believe it. They make them so beautifully out of twisted wire in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, I got her a shuffleboard. In the UK, a game called Tiddlywinks. I've got that, I said. So you have, said Father Christmas, thinking back. The same year, I got you the Observer's Book of Birds and the red fighter plane whose wheel came off. Really? It had a faulty wheel, said Father Christmas, suddenly very businesslike. I'm afraid so, I said. I'll have to look into that, said Father Christmas. Can't let the standard slip. Anyway, everywhere I went, I found Gerda the most incredible presents. Yahtzee from the United States, jumping caps from Poland, a bamboo horse from China, and 9 Christmases later, I'd been through enough and travelled back into town. Of course, I was nervous about seeing Gerda because we'd argued before I left and I wasn't sure if she would forgive me. So I stopped off in the tavern for some mead to give myself some courage. I had friends in those days, other children from the orphanage mainly, and they'd missed me. They were pleased that I'd returned. I decided to show them the presents that I'd saved for Gerda, so I placed them all on the bar. I was so proud of what I bought. While we were there, Grim Grimmerson came in, the owner of the shoe factory. His head for business was legendary, and I'd admired him ever since I was a boy. This was in the days before he went bust and made off with everyone's wages. He'd been too busy working to buy presents for his daughters, and when he saw Gerda's presents, he offered to buy them for me. Of course, I refused. I bought the toys for Gerda, and I hoped it would mean a lot to her that I had thought of her while I was away. But Grim was insistent. He turned his purse upside down on top of the bar and spilled hundreds of bright gold coins out. I'd never seen so much money in all my life. Don't be silly, said Grim. With the money I'll pay, you can start your own toy shop. Think of all the toys you'll be able to give Gerda then. Like a fool, I agreed. When I woke up in the morning, I knew straight away I'd made a terrible mistake. As I opened the shutters, I saw Gerda walking down the path to my house. She'd heard that I'd returned, and of course she wanted to see me, but I was so ashamed I had sold their presents that I hid and didn't answer the door. I kept avoiding her, said Father Christmas. Instead, I used the money to buy the toy shop. The money in my till started to take the place of Gerda, and I began to forget her. I decided that I could never really have cared for her in the first place, and that I was better off alone. As time went on, I needed more and more money to feel even the tiniest bit happy. It didn't matter how much I earned, it was never enough. So we must be coming to the part of the story when you change, I said, because you're not mean like that at all. You're one of the most generous people in the whole world. Thank you, said Father Christmas. It's nice to be appreciated. And you're right, of course. We've reached a really crucial part of the story. Yeah, he cried to the reindeer. And then straight away, sorry. Rudolph and the other reindeer slowed their gallop and we began to descend. For the last few minutes we'd been flying across the Gulf of Mexico. To our right, the lights of Florida stretched out into the dark ocean like the fin of a golden turtle. Next stop would be Miami. Where should we pick it up? Asked Father Christmas. Where we left off, I said. You've just seen yourself in the future all alone. Good idea, said Father Christmas. In which case, well, this is what happened next.